Just one second, I'm connecting to a better webcam.
Sure.
Just one second. See?
I can't see you now.
You can't?
No.
No? Oh. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. So once again. Oh, okay. Now?
Yes.
Dear. Is this better with a
That's much better.
little better, right?
Not quite as sexy.
Alright. One second, let me just adjust this a little bit.
I was just been setting up the. Are you recording now?
Any Skype call is being recorded.
Okay. Well, we might as well go straight. What I'm going to do, Vish, I'm just going to do my Facebook Live as well.
Okay.
And if there's anyone around, because I've not promoted it, if there's anyone around and they ask a question, I'll keep looking over here.
Yeah.
To see if there's any questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just click that off. Okay, good morning, Vish.
Oh, good. Yeah, good morning, Alan. Nice to be speaking to you.
So I'm going to just, because my Facebook Live people can't see the screen. So I'll just say a couple of things here for us. So just for anyone listening or watching on Facebook Live, we will post the actual video of this conversation later as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to post a question at the bottom and we'll try and answer it. So Vish, I don't really have any fixed questions, but I have to admit, when we had our conversation last week on meditation, it did get me thinking a little bit. Because the very first time I was trying to think back after we spoke, and I was trying to think back to the very first time that I actually did a meditation. And it did take me back to when I was 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And what happened was, I was ill at the time. I'd been in hospital with hepatitis.
Okay.
And so I was only a young guy. And I was kind of in fear of, am I about to die?
Okay.
And when I went home, I wasn't really a great reader in the slightest. So when I went home, I found a book that because my mother was kind of an early holistic adopter.
Mm.
So I found a book on Tai Chi.
Okay.
Meditation. So I read this book and I thought, yeah, can this make me feel a lot better? So I did two things. The first thing I did was I discovered about meridian lines.
Okay.
So these meridian lines, these power channels travel
Yeah.
the body, and how I could massage them to increase the energy flow through my body. And the second thing I did was I discovered a form of meditation, which I've read a lot about since then. And what used to happen was, Vish, I would go to my bedroom when everybody went to bed in the evening, and I was so paranoid about being found, I locked my bedroom door. I put a lock on my bedroom door, and my mother used to say to me, "Why do you put a lock on your bedroom door?" And I couldn't really say, well, it's because I'm meditating.
Oh, okay.
Because they probably think I'd gone crazy at the time. So I put a lock on the bedroom door, and then I would sit on the floor, and quite often I could sit there completely still from, say, 11 p.m. till maybe 3 a.m. So 4 hours solid.
Oh, in the night?
In the night, yeah.
Okay.
And this was to the point where I got it to a point where I couldn't actually feel my body at all.
Oh, when was that? At the age of 16?
The age of 16, I couldn't feel my body at all. and my mind was completely focused on just being calm and making myself better. Then I usually would wake up around, come around maybe 3 a.m., usually because I was a little bit cold. And then I would jump up and go to bed. So that was my very first experience with meditation. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on meditation.
Yeah, it should be very strange. I mean, you said you put a lock in the door, and the most beautiful example is given by Swami Vivekananda. He says that the farmer is irrigating the field, okay, and then he has got this little locks which allow the water from the river to come to irrigate the field. So he puts the lock so that it doesn't overflow. And whenever he wants, he has to just open that lock, and the water flows in by itself. So there is no power added to this. He has just to lift the lock, and the water is already there in the reservoir. And so, behind of us, or behind or front or center, whatever, is this massive reservoir. And this body, mind, and intellect, which is nothing but our thoughts and thinking and our tendencies, are these locks, which is stopping us from irrigating the field. Unlike a farmer, ours never is going to not get over flooded, or going to get into the crops are not going to get destroyed because of more energy. So we have within us, behind or whatever it is, this massive reservoir, and which is nothing but, you could call it God, or consciousness, or soul. And these tiny locks is what is preventing us from this huge, massive thing to help us solve any complex problem. And day in, day out, this is the only thing. There is a consciousness and there is a tendencies. Tendencies, people say it's subconscious, but subconscious is a very sort of like, it's not the right word to describe tendency. I tell you, example, I'll give you the reason. The most important thing of meditation is you come to know about beginning and end. There's no beginning and end. For example, the real definition of the word beginning, Alan, is that which has a previous beginning. The real definition of the word end is that which is a new beginning. So beginning is never a virgin. There is nothing like a beginning. So right from our school or college, we have thought, oh, there's a beginning of a movie and end. So we think beginning means start. So we immediately ask, when did the universe begin? Well, the universe never had a beginning, because there is nothing like a beginning is never a virgin start. It's only the beginning and end of a cycle. Like, there is spring, there is, fall, and then like January, February, March, April, December, there's one beginning and end of 2016. And then again, January starts. So the beginning and end is only of a cycle, not the beginning and end of the whole cosmos by itself. Because there is no beginning and no end. And this reservoir is like, so both the consciousness and these tendencies, that which is clothing it, that also does not have a beginning and an end. It's very, very important. And we can get into it. But the idea is that the real reason why we are suffering or we get into problem is this tendencies. It is like, from it springs the subject and object. It's like, how manifest. If you look at manifestation, what is manifestation? Is the force, the consciousness splits into the subject and object. You see, that's why the duality comes. In the unmanifest state, there's only consciousness. The moment you talk, it's like I put a pebble inside a river. Now it was still. Now I put a pebble, and then there is manifestation. So then there's subject and object, meaning something is happening outside, and then there's something happening inside. And we feel they are two different things. But they all come because of these thing called these tendencies, which is nothing but this manifestation, which is no beginning and end. There's no father and mother. It is like a bastard. Okay. It's these tendencies have no beginning and end. And we are making a big deal of it. So the whole idea is, in meditation, you become God. You become that still river. You become like the boy you were when you were 16. Like you become the child you were when you were newly born. like even traveling a little bit before you were in the mother's womb, a little bit before that, what happened before the mother's womb? You see, your mother and father, because they had a relationship, that's not the reason you came. That's just the apparent reason. Because it's like the beautiful example. Let's say a child wants to buy a pair of Nike shoes. So he goes to the first store, he doesn't get it. He goes to the second, the size is not right. He goes to the third, the color is not right. He goes to the fourth, fifth. Then he goes to the sixth, and he gets the right color and size. Now, what if I give you two options? How did the child find the shoe? Was it because of the seventh store? Or was it because his desire to buy a pair of Nike red shoes led him to the seventh store where he got the, shoe? So, the second is true. So, the father, the mother is not the real reason. Like this body has no beginning and end, because so long as these tendencies are there, we will reincarnate with bodies. And it's not a belief, it's reality that today you got up. Who got up? I'm asking you simple question. Who got up today morning? Did your consciousness get up or did your tendencies get up? Well, both got up, but as soon as you got up, your first thought was your tendencies. So you might say, oh, well, I have to get this work done, or this guy is a nut, and it's causing me pain. So pain and pleasure and all that stuff. So meditation is basically the most beautiful thing which can happen in 2 minutes. And I mean, Christ, Krishna, Buddha, they meditated 24 hours because they were like carrying these reservoirs. We are carrying the tendencies. And so we are human beings.
Well, let me just step back a little bit, because I agree with everything you say. We have this huge reservoir within us, and I was thinking of it like a little scripture in the Bible from Isaiah 48:17, and what it actually says is it's when God is talking to Israel, and He's saying, "Oh Israel, if only if your peace can become like that of the river," because He talks about they can have peace.
Okay.
Like a river.
Okay.
Now what he's actually saying is you can have a constant, steady stream of peace. There's no portion of peace. There's no area of peace.
Right.
There's no war on peace. But if they had only focused, because at that historical point that Israel had become almost like an apostate nation. This is just a bit of Bible history.
Yeah, okay.
They'd become like an apostate nation, and they couldn't get their head around why they no longer had peace. They were always at war with someone, and the reason was they'd gone into reactive, habitual thinking rather than this completely organic, holistic thinking. But what I wanted to do, Vish, was I wanted to take a little step back, because I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So I went to California for a while, stayed there for a few months to write my first book, Escape from Zoomanic.
Okay.
Now, when I was in California, I had a friend who I'd met in the Amazon jungle, funnily enough, of all places.
Okay.
And she was an old 60s hippie. And she had a house on a mountain in a place called Bonnie Doon. So she was traveling the country because she was a land and divorce lawyer. So she said, well, I'll be away for 6 months. You can use my house for as long as you want. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I went to the house and I stayed there on my own for 3 months. But what was interesting for me was I was surrounded by this hippie community that didn't really do anything apart from sit and meditate.
Okay.
That's all they did. So they lived in houses that were falling apart because they were meditating. They had no jobs because they were meditating.
Yeah.
They all looked ill because they were meditating. They couldn't be self-sufficient because they were meditating. And this gave me a brand new perspective on meditation.
Right.
Because I began to think to myself, so if you went down into Santa Cruz in California, for example, you could go to the village, a small town, and behind the marketplace, they would have circles of people who would just sit and meditate every morning, every afternoon, every day, and they wouldn't do anything else, and they would expect other people to feed them. So the one thing I've seen, especially in modern times, which is nothing new because this was happening in the days of Plato and Socrates and everybody else. You know, I mean, Socrates talks about all these people, and of course Socrates himself was condemned for being this dirty, filthy-looking character who never washed or changed his robe, who just walked around having a big opinion. So what I wanted to really ask you was, because one thing we mentioned last week was this 2-minute meditation. And a 2-minute meditation is kind of something I'm more in tune with as well. So what I wanted to ask your opinion was, is there anything wrong with sitting around day after day, month after month, year after year, asking the universe, asking God to fix your life? Is that real meditation? Because I know you're a guy that does know about meditation. Do you think that's real meditation? And I don't think some people will like the answer.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's bullshit because, you know, I'll tell you, most people think that ideas come during meditation. I'll tell you, even if you are in the toilet, you would get the same idea. So meditation has got nothing to do with any ideas or anything. You know, you will get the same idea maybe when you're taking a shower. So the only purpose of meditation is to, you know, get in touch with the God within, with the reservoir. Because the moment, see, you become the river. See, there's no evolution in consciousness. It's not like you discover one spiritual law today and one later on. It's given once for all. So the moment you get in touch with this place, the story is over. Because you have destroyed the past, present, and future. So there is nothing like present, there's nothing like past, and so it follows there's nothing like future. So the real meditation is you destroy the waking state. Past, present, and future. I'll give you a very simple example. There was a farmer, and I keep going back to the farmer, that he and his wife, they were happily married, but they didn't have a son. So after a long time, a son was born, and they were very happy and all that stuff. But after some time, when he was doing his farm, he got the news that a snake had bitten his son. And so he was very unhappy. By the time he reached, the child had died. And everyone was unhappy, this, that. And it was around night time, and then they all slept. And in the morning, the farmer got up, and he went to he was going to the farm. And his wife said, "Are you a man or are you a devil? Your son has died and not a single tear has come from your eyes." He said, "You know, I had a dream yesterday night that I was a prince. I had 4 children and everything was going well and all that. And suddenly I woke up and then I found my, son is dead in the waking state and I'm confused. Is the dream state real or is this waking state real?" And so this looks to be more real to me than this one. And so he went. And so the real thing is when you get to this meditative state, which is the consciousness state, you destroy the past, present, and future. Means you destroy the waking state. So the moment you destroy the waking state, your tendencies and your thoughts, your thinking, and the whole universe disappears. Now this is very important. Whether it's for 2 minutes, see in 2 minutes, 2 minutes in the meditative consciousness state, it's like 15 hours in the waking state. Because you get tremendous energy and tremendous perspective of things. And so when you then go out into the waking state, you are a completely different personality because who is entering the scene is more important than what is happening in the scene. So this person is this place is entering into the scene, into the waking state. Earlier, your tendencies were entering. So what happens in this 2-minute meditation is, it's not that you ask the universe something or you don't ask, because whatever happens in the waking state is all written. No one can change that. With a few exceptions. If you want, we can talk about that exception. And I'll tell you very quickly the exception. The example, I tell you the example because this is real. I mean, that's why I wrote. There is a cow and it has a rope and tied to its neck and there's a post. So There are three types of cow. The rope is time, okay? The post is our script, which we are carrying. So, there are three types of cow. Now, if the cow has a rope tied to its neck and there's a post, how much can the cow move? It can only move this much distance, right? It can move to the extent of the rope, correct?
Yeah.
So, that is called willpower. What we call willpower is only moving within this distance. Like, you and I can speak right now here. I am in a room, you're in a room. So, what we call willpower is moving within the room. The cow can do anything. But it can't go beyond. It has got a rope tied to its neck and it's a post. Now, there are three types of cow. One is called the tamas cow, which is it just says everything is destined, so I don't have to do anything, and it sits like a lazy person, says the universe will give me everything. And so, when it gets the grass, it eats it. It is the most dangerous breed of cow, which is 50% of the human population.
Yeah.
It says everything is destined, I am not going to do anything, and it sits there and it gets some grass, sometimes it doesn't get. The second cow is maybe you and me. So we plan, we execute, we do things, we think, no, we can. We understand this rope and post, but we don't believe it 100%. We think we can change today. But we can, at the end of the day, we figure out only we have done so much or whatever it is. But so we believe, we plan, we execute, and we keep doing this every day, but in the end only certain things done because we don't 100% believe this. That there's a rope and the post. And so this is a good breed, the Rajas cow. It's called Rajas, the mind tendencies. And the third cow is called a Sattvic cow, which is divine cow. It knows that there's a rope and a post. And so it knows that how can it extend? How can you go to more distance? Only when the length of the rope is extended, right? Or the post is destroyed.
Yeah.
That's only when I can move to any place and my destiny can change. Right? That's destiny because what? So it does something interesting. It does this 2-minute meditation. Because it knows that only this place can destroy the post or increase the length of the rope. And thereby change my destiny. And whatever is going to happen, instead of an accident, a small hurt would happen. Because this place has got that strength to do anything. Because it's a field of infinite possibilities. Whereas the waking state is a field of finite possibilities. It's not infinite. We only, because of our thinking, we think, oh, anything can happen. But there's a difference between thinking and happening, right? Happening and So this cow does the 2-minute meditation, and then it enters into the waking state and it does exact what you and I do in the Rajas cow, and it gets both the benefits of everything in this world as well as everything of this reservoir. Is it easy? No. But through practice and detachment, these things happen. And so the beauty of this 2-minute meditation is that it's got a pose, like, I can't show it here, but this, okay, I'll show you this. You see this one? See this pose?
Yeah.
The hands, this is called relaxation pose, this is called the yogic posture. You see the hands like this? Sitting like this, you destroy the past, present and future. And this is, after you do that, this is the relaxation pose. This is 1 minute, this is 1 minute. And what happens here is, the first is called yogic posture, meaning you destroy, you transcend. That's why they say that the waking state is not real. Like what happens when you get up from a dream? In a waking state, you destroy the dream, right? See, the dream gets destroyed.
And dreams are so real.
Yeah, because when you wake up, the dream is destroyed. And yet you are the person dreaming. It was not a stranger. You dreamt, and at some portion, it is there in somewhere inside of you. But when you wake up, the dream state is destroyed, right?
So for example, last night, I had a dream.
Yeah.
Because I've just had 2 of my books translated into Georgian.
Yeah.
So we're going to launch these books into Tbilisi in Georgia this year. So last night I had a dream. And I do speak some Georgian now, but not really fluent, but I do speak some. So last night I had a dream that I was invited to speak and present one of these books to an audience of 1,000 people.
Oh, okay.
And I had to go on, and I had to pick up one of my books, which this is in English, but was in Georgian. This is the one that has been translated now. And I had to do a reading from the book in Georgian. So the lady said to me, "Are you ready? Okay, let's go." And I stood there and I read for 10 minutes from the book in Georgian.
Okay.
And then, of course, my wife, Tamara, she then woke me up.
She then what?
She woke me up. She woke me.
Okay.
She said, "Darling, your breakfast is ready. Do you want to come through?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, I was just doing a presentation."
Yeah. And
But what's interesting, Vish, like, just you come back to what you were saying in a second, but I often do think about dreams because, for example, when I wrote about Escape from Zoomanic, that was a chaotic period of my life, going through divorce and so on.
yeah.
And when I was an ordained minister, the one thing we always had to do to try and find evidence of anything, we were always encouraged to go back. So if something was here, we was always encouraged to trace it back to where it began. And I thought about this when I was going through my crazy periods, because I was thinking a lot. And I thought, well, there's something strange happening to humanity. And one thing is, humanity had become confined by borders and boundaries and cages that only existed here. They didn't really exist. It's a little bit like someone will say to you, "Well, I can't go over there." But they can go over there.
Yeah.
But the repeated patterns and habits of a different kind of human being, what I call a zooman, a different kind of human being, they would repeat what had been repeated to them. But nobody had gone back to the original source to find out what a real human should be like, should think like, and should act like. Because it's interesting, if you go back in time, you know, people knew when to do certain things without reading about it.
Right.
So my children will say to me now, "Google it, Dad."
Yeah.
But what they forget is, who created Google?
Yeah.
So Google is a piece of software programmed by men,
Right.
and the men are just repeating things that they've heard from other men.
Right.
So really, Google is putting people in an even bigger cage
Yeah.
than they've ever been in before.
Right.
It doesn't provide answers.
Yeah. Right.
It
That's
doesn't
true.
provide answers to anything.
It can only provide answers to January to December.
Yeah, so really the reality is, to get back to what we would call being human,
Yeah.
we have to go back to this almost transcendent state. We have to go back to this godly state.
Yeah.
We have to go back to this unrestricted state.
Yes.
But the real question is, how do we get there?
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you my, this thing. I've been in this for 15 years, and I think I have understood nothing. I tell you, honestly, before you called, I think for 20 minutes I was crying. I just got into some problem. And you see, the world is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I said, after knowing so much, how am I getting into problem? Because these tendencies, they just put us, and the world is like, you know how the world is. So, from this thing, I'll tell you, the how is not the reason. The why is strong. If your why is stronger, then the how becomes trivial. So, I can tell you, you can tell me how to do copywriting and all that stuff 100 times, but if I don't open up a page and do something about it, and if I don't keep doing it, see, I'll tell you that the reason why people fail in spirituality is, in getting in touch with the God, because they don't stick to one thing. I always say, if you're a Christian, stick to your teaching. If you're whatever you are doing, whatever teaching you feel is right for you, stick to it for a long time. If you think that's good, or if you're a teacher. Now, I have stuck to the Bhagavad Gita for 15 years. Now, unlike in the world, when you have fresh tendencies in spirituality by reading every new book every other week, that is dangerous. Like if I learn copywriting only from you, knowing that, okay, you can give me a breakthrough because I know you did that, and if I keep mastering that skill from you, then I can go on and add my own element because I too have my own uniqueness. But if I keep shuttling with the 5 or 6 copywriters saying, okay, every book, every person might be good, but they're not good for you.
Yeah.
You see, that's very important. So in spirituality, you have to stick to one person or one book or one teaching. And the why is important. The why is this, that you got to drink from the river every single day. Till the time you have mastered it, till you got to do it. And it's like brushing your teeth or something. It's like, I'm telling you, every morning I do, like today I got up at 3:30 to 8:30, the 700 verses. And it's beautiful. It's like, you see, today, it's like this place is what see, it's both inside and outside, right? This consciousness. So, inside is looking at the outside. And,
That's right, yeah.
And so, for 2-3 hours, I could be. And then when I come into the waking state, I feel, I see that I'm not able to put into practice all the knowledge that I gained. And I cry. That why is this anger not going? I know it's unreal. Why is this hatred not going? This is unreal. Because I can see that in that 2-3 hours I'm not spending 2 minutes. And the reason it takes only 2 minutes, but after being in that 2-minute state for 3, 4, 5 hours, I see that and I say, no, this has to go, this has to go. And I know that if I keep doing it, it will go. Because it's unreal. And then that question comes, so from how much dust is piled up? You see, just like as you said, it's from centuries upon births, upon births, upon births, upon birth. One day itself is 24 hours, meaning how many, God alone knows, 24 million thoughts or whatever. And people feel they know everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh, like, I was just speaking to someone. I mean, everyone thinks they know everything. I'll tell you, even now, whatever I'm speaking, I think God might be laughing at me and you, saying, what are these nuts speaking? They are better than others, but they probably don't know everything.
Yeah.
If they are better, then they are at least close to the edge.
I think, Vish, I mean, in one of the new books I'm writing, I've been writing a book called Meditations for quite a while. And it kind of tackles big subjects. Like, for instance, one chapter is called life. One chapter is called death. So they're quite heavy chapters, really. And I thought about this so many times that it's good to not understand things. I think one of the most dangerous things we've done in the world today is we've created breeds of people who think they know everything.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I decided to buy. I mean, when I say I don't like Richard Dawkins, The God Effect, it's not the man.
Yeah.
I don't like his ideas because.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll buy his books and I'll make up my own opinion because that's how I like to do things.
Yeah.
So I bought his books, and these books were so negatively charged from start to finish. I watched him on YouTube, watched him on video. He's such an angry character.
Yeah, right.
But what was interesting was he is so defined, so definite, so sure he is right. But the problem is our opinions are based on our life experience.
Right, that's true.
If we are 30, if we are 40, if we are 60, if we are 80 years old, our opinion is only based on our experience during the 80 years.
Yeah.
So what happens before the millenniums before that? Because what we fail to forget, what we fail to be taught and fail to remember is this. Everything that we're doing today has been done already.
Yeah.
We've had a religious...
The real definition of happening is that which has already happened.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've had downfalls and we've had upfalls. We've had the fall and we've had the rise. There's nothing new about what's going on, whether it be religious zealotry through like an over-exaggerated jihad, or religious zealotry through, Christian nations bombing other nations to pieces. There's nothing new in that stuff.
Right.
So, what I always think, we have something what I personally call faith transference.
Right.
So, for example, this is just an example, so there's no saying anything negative, but anyway, faith transference. So, someone who has been brought up from birth as a Catholic.
Yeah.
Now, they know the catechism, they know they have to go and ask for forgiveness, they know they have to pray to Mary, etc., etc., etc. And they get to an age where they think to themselves, and by the way, this is still ties into meditation, as we know.
Yeah.
But he or she gets to an age where they think to themselves, I don't want to be Catholic anymore. It drives me crazy. I don't want to confess.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Mary, Mother of God, etc., etc., etc. So what they do is they decide to take a more holistic approach.
Right.
But what happens is all the trappings and restrictions and barriers and chains of Catholicism is then transferred into their new holistic or their new faith.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've just done a faith transfer.
Yeah.
So they've taken all these restrictions and they've restricted themselves in a brand new cage that maybe originally feels bigger, it feels wider, it feels longer, but what happens is the compression starts to come back.
Right. As time passes.
So eventually, I spoke to a guy recently.
It's a very good, I think, the faith transference. I think you have. It's a very good point. I think you have made, because I think only very few people can make such things, because it goes to show you are evolved. I'm telling you, because I think you have talked about, and that's the reason I keep saying that you should never ever transform your religion, because there's nothing like religion. It's like, of course there might be some exception I don't want to get into, but there is nothing. I mean, if someone goes from X religion to Y, they are nothing but faith transference. They are just changing the clothing, but the inside person is the same. So you are trying to fool by trying to say, oh, this shirt is good, but it's like, see, inside I'm the same person. And so I think faith transference is a beautiful word. Yeah, so continue. Yeah, what was you saying? I liked that word.
Yes, so what I was going to say was, the only way you can really, I used to do this thing, right? When I was a minister, people used to say to me, oh, do you sit and pray for hours?
Yeah.
And I say, no, because I always made up my own meditation, which I always thought meditation was actually mediation between you and God.
Yeah.
That's for me what meditation was. So I was mediating. So a mediation is a coming together of, I'm stuck, I need a way out, can you help me, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, we know that God doesn't pick up the phone and say, listen, Al, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
It either happens or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But the mediation or the meditation, you mediate with yourself and this greater force. And this greater force somehow takes over and pushes you in the direction that you should be going in. But you already know the direction you should be going in.
Yeah.
You already know. But the one thing I wanted to mention was, in the world that we're living in today, because we have things flying through. I mean, for example, my children are very happy to sit there with an iPhone, an iPad, a laptop, and a TV on.
Yeah.
Now, what you have to remember is there's a lot of things going in here in the eyes. So there's an old book from the 70s called The 4 Arguments Against TV. I know it's from the 70s, but it's a brilliantly interesting read. And what it talks about is the inputs of information from a scientific viewpoint and the effect it has on the brain.
Okay.
So as an example, the speed of input can be 100.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you a number because it's just an example. The speed of input into the eye can be 100, but the eye and the brain can only process 50.
Okay.
So what happens is, because the speed is 100, the eye and the brain can only process at 50. It doesn't stop processing, but it creates a backlog, which means the brain and the input slows down. And that is why when you see people watching TV, they start off watching TV like this, and they finish watching TV like that.
Yeah.
Because it is the same effect as hypnosis. So the only way that we can really meditate or mediate and come back to something human is to step away from this perceived reality.
Yeah. Right.
Because you know and I know this perceived reality isn't real.
Yeah.
So the question is, who creates our happiness? So people say, where I live around here, very, very wealthy area. So people think that being happy is looking great, having the best car, having the best house, wearing the best watch. But who created that thought that that is happiness?
Yeah.
Men in offices wanting to sell more.
Yeah.
So the only way, I mean, like I said, when I did it from, I did it originally at 16. But when I went to California, it was the first. When I went to California, it was the first time in my whole life, at the age of 47, I'd actually been alone. Up until then, I had my parents.
Okay.
I had my girlfriend, who became my first wife. I had all my children and friends. Then I had, after divorce, other girlfriends. I never took time to be alone and sit and think under the stars, under the sunshine, under anything, on a rock by the ocean. It was the first time in my life I said to myself, what is life? So really, to meditate properly, you have to stand back a little bit.
Exactly.
From life. Because if you don't, nothing will change.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a very good point. As you said, stand apart from the life, and that's what.
I think what is fish. Sorry, just to.
Yeah.
I think it's what you have to do is. in one of my books in Zoomanity, I talk about the mass of humanity. So the mass is something that moves in one. So the mass of humanity, I almost think, this is how I always think about it when I write about it. I think about a crowd at a football match where there's 100,000 people and they either all move this way or they all move that way, or when they leave the stadium, if they're all walking south, it's almost impossible for one man to walk north. He can do it, but he has to go through the mass. Right. And most of the time he'll be dragged back by this mass. Right. He wants to push forward. So really, the only way we can really think about things and meditate is to stand outside and then look down and watch the mass walking back and swaying to and fro. And only then you can decide. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what you said was, and that's exactly what you see if you see all the great teachers, everyone speaks of this state where, as I said, you destroy the past, present, future, you go inside, you're there and then you come back, like let's say you get out of the dream state and come to the waking state. So you get into the meditative state of consciousness and you get back into the waking state. You're a completely different person. It's not that the problem has changed, but you have changed. So who is entering? So again and again, I think if you see the meditation everywhere happening is, people think that something is going to happen in meditation. But you see, the great masters they didn't meditate to know. They meditated because they knew. So meditation is an acknowledgement. It's not something is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Because it's like, if there's a river and there's stones and you keep throwing stones, you just stop throwing stones. That's all happens. But what people don't understand is they're expecting some miracle. You see, there is no flashes of light going to come from anywhere. But as you destroy the past, present, future, and as you keep getting closer and closer and closer, you see many things what normal people cannot with eyes see. For example, with a microscope, you see many things. So you see insights of, like as I told you, the real definition of the word is beginning is that which has no previous beginning. No one can fool you that, like Richard Dawson or whatever he can talk everything from one black hole to another black hole. But he has no clue. He can't create. See, no person on earth can create consciousness. You're only talking about everything happening after consciousness. So you are talking about the what, when, and how, but the why no one can say. Why are you and me talking right now here, and why someone else sleeping? No one can answer that, because the why of the black hole is not answered, because that black hole is not the beginning. It has got a previous beginning, and that has got another previous beginning, because that is why they say it's like a fig tree. If you look at a fig tree, it springs in the morning and it dies in the evening. So it says it is like it has no father, mother. It's like useless. You have to destroy it with the sword of detachment. It's like you can say, oh, my dream was wonderful, but you have to destroy it, because this is real. I mean, the waking state is real than the dream state. You can get some hooks. So again and again we come to the same thing, that this is a lonely travel. This is a lonely journey. As you said, when you're alone, people are with too many people outside, socializing and all these things. So if you know this place and you mastered it, then you can be anywhere and everywhere. You can socialize or do whatever it is. You'll never get into problem. But if without knowing the river, if you start throwing stones at the river, we are like throwing stone. So what I found out was everything what Christ said, everything what Buddha said, everything what Krishna said, everything what they're all so wonderful. And I keep saying, oh, I'm getting it. And the next moment it goes out. So that's why it's called Maya, meaning illusion. So like you can, at least I know that I've got it. But the next moment it slips out. Slips means doesn't slip completely. But the personality of me is like dust compared to personality of Christ. Because I feel sad. Bloody, I'm competing with Christ. I'm telling you, I'm competing with Krishna. Because that's what I do. But I look, oh my God, I'm 1 second I feel, oh yeah, I am that person. Second feel, oh, I am the dust below their feet. Because they could execute, bloody, I could not.
Yeah.
So, I'm fully bent. I think I can master this. Everyone can master this. And the world will never encourage you. No father, no mother, no school, no college, no book. No one will inspire and encourage you to walk this from life to death. It's a commitment till the time you're alive.
It's a quest.
Yeah, it's a quest, and it's a full-time commitment that no matter what happens, you keep drinking from that river of truth, even though you are completely destroyed, or everything is going good, or everything is going bad. I think the best time to start is when things are going good. Because and so people just don't do anything, and they just there's so much interest in the movies and politics and all that stuff, and they get into. So I think the real meditation requires full-time commitment, no magic, real work, just like doing the laundry or whatever it is, or I never did laundry, so that's a bad example. So it's real work. It's like it is real work, and people are trying to avoid it. I'm telling you, people are trying to avoid. People are trying to give the pain and pleasure on all the things that come to you. We are trying to avoid by giving some reason outside and not going inside and taking full responsibility for our life. We are taking only 50% responsibility of our life. And 50% we want to throw it. And so I'll tell you one sentence, Alan. The real responsibility of the government or in any place, if you and I, is to simplify people's life so that they can practice dharma, which is here. Instead of doing that, they are trying to change your mind and my mind. And they are trying to influence us. They are to make your life and my life simplified by this government forms, bank form, this form. Our external life should be very simple. That is the only job of the outside world, of universities and schools and government. But they are thinking that they can teach us something.
That's right.
And that's where the whole problem starts, from us to school. And you can't teach me anything, I can't teach you anything. I can simplify your life, you can simplify my life.
Well,
It's like
I suppose the question is, what do we use from school today?
nothing. I mean, I'll tell you, it's like an ass carrying a load of sandalwood. That's the example. It's like when we are going, we don't even know. It's like everything is a burden, baggage. And when we come, we are using that thing, and then we want to become, we are searching for the sandalwood. But we are the same ass. We are asses. Because we are beaten for 20, 30 years like asses.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we don't have that. We have the sandalwood here, but we are the asses.
Yeah,
And, the moment we get the fragrance of the sandalwood, then, I'll tell you, I mean, I'm no matter what level people are, whether they're completely ignorant or they're completely foolish or a lot wise, everyone will one day discover that this whole thing was a big drama. And we could not figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we enjoyed or so we suffered. And we made ourselves and others also get into that because of all these things. So I'm very interested that everyone can do real good and we can really lead good life. But the world will always be like this because we are all clothed with the sheep tendencies like the asses. And it's like simple thing. For example, you get a position, like you said the other day, you refuse something to talk to 1,000 people. However, 1 million people, only 5 will do that.
That's right.
And so that's the world. So all others will just grab it and drink it and milk it and do whatnot. And that's the world. So as you said, stepping aside. So I too, as I said, I've stepped aside. So when you talk to others, they will think you are a fool.
Yeah.
Because you are doing what 99% don't do. And they will never know, no matter what you say to them. So no matter what Christ said, they would not understand. But when he died, they would say he's God. But when he was alive, they would throw stones at him.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the reality that the world, there will never be at any point more than 5% who will stand aside.
Let me ask you this. So, when Jesus spoke on the Sermon on the Mount, he said one line that has always stuck with me since my Bible study days. And the line was this simple. He said, happy are those, there's two things here, happy are those conscious of their spiritual need. Now, I found that interesting because, and I always find it interesting, and I studied this a long time ago. I was an ordained minister for 21 years in total. So I know this stuff very, very well. So one, happy are those. So, in other words, is he saying a lot of unhappiness can be resolved by being conscious? So the question is, how do we become conscious? And conscious of what? Our spiritual. And now he doesn't say your spiritual wants. He says your spiritual need.
Right.
Now a want is an instant desire that comes and goes. I mean, everybody wants the iPhone 5, and then they want the iPhone 6, then they want the iPhone 7.
Yeah.
But what do you really need? You need a phone that you can communicate with. Right. That's what you need. So Jesus was talking about those conscious needs. And for me, Vish, over the years, over the past few days, and I have been mocked, and I've been, discouraged so many times, especially what I always call my first life, for having any kind of spiritual desire.
Yeah.
But here's what I do know is, a spiritual need fulfilled, or consciousness that is aware, gives you a surety in life that none of that stuff can give you.
Right.
None of it can give you.
Right.
Because I always say to my wife, if I lost everything today, I could survive happy in the middle of that field.
Yeah.
Easily.
Right.
Because, and sometimes something happened, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I said to my wife, oh God, I said, I don't know what it is, sometimes, you have to walk down the wrong path before you find the right one.
Yeah, that's a very good quote.
Because I did something again, and it was a little bit of a mini disaster. And I just thought, oh, God.
Yeah.
And all it was I had to know what it wasn't by going down there to find out what it was to go down there again. So really, I want to ask you this, because I do need to finish at 12. I want to ask you this. One, what does conscious mean? And what is that spiritual need? And how do we achieve that through meditation?
Well, okay.
Because that's what we're talking about, meditation.
So you're conscious and spiritual need, right?
Yeah. What tell me what you said.
Yeah. So both those two things, you can look at it as a subject and object, and they both are just the same thing. So your spiritual need moves you closer to the conscious, and the consciousness makes you do the spiritual things. It both feeds on itself. Okay.
So what is the conscious? What is it?
So
tell me the difference between what you think unconscious and conscious.
Okay. So I'll tell you what the great ones said. They said, and it is both I'll first tell you what they said, and then we can say what we think.
Yeah.
So it's both inside and outside. It moves not, and yet it moves. Being subtle, it's difficult to understand. It is near and yet very far. So there is a tiny wheel between the dream state and waking state. Like you were reading the book, in that whatever, and then your wife suddenly woke you up. It's just a tiny wheel. You got up. And so if you see the wheel between the waking state and the unconscious state and the conscious state, it's a tiny wheel. It's like there is force, and then this is unmanifest, and then the manifestation is the waking state where the force is split into the subject and object, and we are like chasing, we think this, let's say you're standing before the ocean, and you look at a certain wave, okay? Why are you looking at one wave and I am looking at another wave? Because we feel, that this world is outside. There's nothing in this world. Why is your attention going to that wave? Because of the subject, the tendencies that is taking you to that object outside, and my subject, my tendency is taking me to that, and this is unconscious. We have become unconscious in this manifestation state. That is, you are going to a wave, and we say this is world and this is wave. But there are 7 million, there are so many things. Why are you thinking something right now, and I'm thinking something else? And because my tendencies is what is making me think. And these tendencies have no father and mother. It's unconscious. It's like the dream. The tendencies are dream. And so the unconscious and conscious is a tiny wheel, and that wheel cannot be broken even after millions and millions of births. No matter how much you speak, just 1% or of 1% will break it in one lifetime. So in this 7 billion people, there will be 7,000 people who will break it. That's why it needs mastery, because you think you got it, but the next moment, this thing will go there, and the moment it goes there, you collect fresh tendencies. See why we, as you said, faith transference, the same way there is body transference. You see, when we accumulate these tendencies without destroying them, we do body transference, because it's like, why do we die? I mean, instead of saying we die, why do we die? And it's a very simple thing. I mean, like let's say the computer, and you buy a new computer, from this pen drive, you take all the data from here and put it to that. It's a simple intelligence. And so the intelligence is that pen drive. Even today we have seen that. And so the intelligence is carrying this whole thing. It's very simple that I am wearing a t-shirt, and even if I remove that, I will be the same person. So this is a clothing, and we are making a big deal of the clothing, because as you said, everyone is putting the clothing and saying this clothing is real. See, you are doing it, I am doing it, the whole population, which is what you've written in the book. And for some reason, I am feeling alone if I say This is real. So I just philosophize this. I philosophize my spirit, but I never execute it. My execution, my practical execution of spirituality is thought. I don't have the guts. I don't have the strength. I fail miserably. I have not mastered it. And people fool with doing all other things. And I said, let it take whatever number of years, I'm going to do it. Let me fail as many times as it wants. Because as Christ said, what did he say? Happiness is when you're conscious of your spiritual needs.
Yeah.
He was dead right. And that's why you have only one Christ in so many years. One Krishna. One. We can read. You see, I have this book here. I've read this 1,000 times. But it's not entering into this thing of mine. Because again, my mind, when I get up, it goes into the wave. And so, it's my bloody defect. I would tell you, if I had a teacher who would whack me in the school, I would be happy. Because that's how you learn in school, right? Like a football coach or anything, if they don't do it. Because we need teachers, Alan. Today's teachers are soft. I'll tell you. We think spirituality means sitting under the tree, and no, it is very intense. You need real whacking. It's like copywriting. Is it easy? You need to hammer the rotten stuff before the beautiful stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So, I think the thing, meditation is promoted as a soft thing.
It is, yeah.
It is not soft. It's not sitting under the tree and all. It requires you to do what no one on earth has the guts to do. It's not soft. It is it is like it's a cane.
Yeah.
And the cane becomes a flower.
Yeah.
Once you master the cane, it comes in you. It's like the horses. The horses are the tendencies. The reins are the mind, and you are the intellect seated in the chariot, and you pull the reins, and you master it, and you keep mastering it, and then you get very good in it. And once you get very good, you know what? Hypnotists and other people, they are hitting the horse in the head. That way you feel, oh, now it's under your control. But tomorrow again the horse comes up, and then it goes wherever it wants. So you should never hit the horse on the head. You should tame it.
Yeah.
Take time you can cry, you can do whatever, you can meditate, you read books, you do, but tame that damn thing.
Yeah.
If you have tamed it well, you become Christ, you become Krishna, you become Buddha. And will your life outside change? I don't know. But you would look, I don't think there is anything to change in this world. Tell me, what can I change in you? And what can you change in me?
Yeah.
We can't do anything. You see, we just need to simplify our lives so we can get into the river and drink peacefully from the river and go out and execute our work. Because you and I have a baggage, a work to be done. We should be able to beautifully execute it and live like humans, as you said. Drink from bath in the river of truth, drink it. So I have this book called River of Truth. Drink it, take bath, then do your work.
Yeah.
No one is ready to do it, Alan. What can I do? What can you do?
I don't know.
See, Christ could not do anything to the world. God cannot change the world because the world is clothed with tendencies.
Yeah.
Because God never created the world. This is another mystery. God never created the world. It's like, this book which you're writing or with the books I wrote, it's my creation. So, see, God did not create the world or anything. It's a world of tendencies. And it's a complete illusion. Just like if I ask you who created the dream world, you'll say, well, I didn't create, but you were part of it. But when you woke up, the dream state was a complete mirage.
Yeah.
That's what. So God did not create the world.
Yeah.
It is a mirage. And in that mirage is sitting God. And if you can burst the bubble, you can see God.
Yeah.
But if you try to find out the purpose and meaning of life in this world, there exists none. Because you will find only asses moving around. And if you want to see the retina of an ass, and analyze each ass, God bless you, the 7 billion people. Because we don't have anything good to share today. We are sharing all stupid things.
Yeah.
That's why what you're doing is a good job, Alan.
Okay, Vish. Well, listen, we have to do this again very soon.
Was that? Did you find it interesting, or
Brilliant.
were we horses or asses? We were
Brilliant.
horses, I think, right?
I'm a stallion.
Right. So you can take me as a cub stallion or whatever.
Okay, Vish. It's been great speaking.
Yeah.
Let's do this again very, very soon.
No problem.
As we're talking, I have another subject that we can talk about. So
Yeah.
let's do this as soon as we can.
Okay.
Okay, Vish. I need to go because I've got people coming.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Vish. Appreciate it. Great talk. Thanks. Bye. Bye.